This is it, boys. The year where Bethesda takes over everything. Starfield was just a small taste of the Bethesda slop that Todd Howard wants to shove down our throats. Oh yes, if you thought the Fallout TV show was painfully bad on average, destroyed lore and whatnot, wait until you get season 2. The Bethesda slop is never stopping. It cannot stop, mostly because Microsoft effectively came out and said that buying Bethesda, huge mistake. Buying Activision Blizzard, even a bigger mistake. These companies are not recuperating any of their investments, and it looks pretty bad for their future. So, there's a lot of desperation that's coming our way, boys. It's gonna be great.
Bethesda, who's set to have a very interesting year. Now, I know a lot of the interest on Bethesda really revolves around what's going on with Bethesda Game Studios when it comes to this channel here. We talk about Elder Scrolls, Fallout, Starfield, and we'll be getting into those properties respectively, but a lot of this video is focusing on the Bethesda publishing arm, which I still find very exciting, because I know a lot of the excitement has been dampened for Bethesda Game Studios since Starfield, and in particular Shattered Space, but we do have a lot to talk about Bethesda in 2025, as this has been a yearly tradition for a while now, to just sit down, look ahead, see what they're up to, what they're set to release this year, and it's looking to be a lot. What's interesting is a lot of it is currently unannounced, so they got a lot of secrets in store that we're going to get into in today's video.
Oh yeah, can you imagine what Bethesda is going to announce? Okay, all of our new stuff is hated, and we know it. So, as Bethesda, the best solution moving forward is... drumroll... Skyrim, the 49th anniversary edition. Buy it now. And also, it's a little bit more expensive now, $200, but it's not like you're gonna care. Buy it. Yeah, the most profitable thing Bethesda could honestly do at this point is just re-release Skyrim for the 275th time.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're new here and you're into what Bethesda's up to, you already know what to do. Consider subscribing. So let's start off with an easy one, right? Doom the Dark Ages. I think many of us are very excited for this for good reason. This is id. Id has not missed since Doom 2016, which was excellent.
True. But Doom is also on my list of games that are potentially going to go woke. Because Doom is it's just, look at this. A skull being crushed? Is that at least a male skull? Because you can't do that to women, okay? Well, look at these people. Nude? That's unacceptable, okay? I think Doom is a prime candidate to go woke at this point.
Really put that franchise back on the map. Very brutal first-person shooter, but it really was when Eternal arrived that I think things truly kicked off. Like, this is one of the most kinetic first-person shooters that you can play. The executions, the way you regain your armor and your ammo, it's just you're always doing something. Your brain's going a million miles a minute. You really are, as it described it, a race car. Versus Doom the Dark Ages, where you are a monster truck just barreling over enemies. You're Captain America with a shotgun. The gore detail looks insane. You can ride a dragon. And it seems like we won't have to wait too long to find out what's going on.
A gay dragon.
On with Doom the Dark Ages, because just in a few days this week we're going to have the developer direct and we're going to get a release date for it, no doubt. My prediction is May, because that's around the same.
Do you think we're going to get some kind of woman implanted in Doom that secretly is the solution to everything and saving everything? I hope so.
Same time that Doom Eternal launched back in 2020. That was in April, because I remember that was a pandemic game, so that was a really good time then. That gives us enough time after all the DLC to ramp up into Doom the Dark Ages, where it would be a nice 5-year development window. And I am just really excited for this one. I think out of everything Bethesda is going to publish this year, this will hands down be the best. But that's not the only Doom that you're going to be getting this year, as it's been spotted over on ESRB that ratings have been submitted for Doom 64. And since there's been a flurry of boomer shooters and older style first-person shooters being re-released, like Quake, some of the older Doom games, again, I think that this is a very obvious thing that'll eventually happen. Maybe with Doom the Dark Ages as sort of like a little teaser drop during the developer direct, like, hey, here you go, you can play a little bit Doom right now, available on Game Pass, or you wait all the way till QuakeCon and you get it done. It's going to be one of those two in my opinion, but you're going to be getting a lot of Doom this year. I think if I'm Bethesda, I get the old school Doom out before the new Doom, because you kind of want to create that hype, create that excitement, get people just thinking about Doom, playing Doom, engaging with Doom, and then they all drive into the newest Doom. At least that would be, I think, the smartest business practice. But Doom the Dark Ages isn't too far off, and I just can't wait to play. I mean, I really feel like we get so few true first-person shooters like this that focus greatly on their campaign and not on the whole multiplayer aspect of it all. Although, famous last words, because...
Okay, you know, listen, as a man, nothing gets me more moist than having a weapon that shoots a projectile where I can nail my opponents.
Campaign and not
just like that, to a wall. It's beautiful. Well, maybe, well, it's a spiked wall, so I'm not really sure, but man, okay, listen, any game where I can nail my opponents with something to a wall, 10 out of 10.
On the whole multiplayer aspect of it all, although famous last words, because I feel like Doom does have this habit of trying random multiplayer modes. Like, I thought 2016's was great, you know, just this very simple team deathmatch approach, very classic, I would say. But then with Doom Eternal, you know, battle mode, you play as the demons or you play as the Doomslayer. I just didn't like it. Like, that is the one part of that package, and granted, nowadays with all the updates it got, it's a very small part of the package, but yeah, so I'm not really feeling that. I hope they kind of just stay away from the weird multiplayer. Like they had, you know, for example, like the snap map they added in Doom 2016. I'm like, oh, great. Like, that's a great system to iterate upon. And they just didn't do anything with it in Eternal. So I feel like it has a habit of picking up and putting down these little play sets, and I hope they actually stick with something this time around. Now, I won't talk too long about this because it's come up in like a million videos. You've heard this one before, but yeah, Oblivion Remake is definitely on the calendar for 2025 this year. The angle I'll take, so it's a little bit of a different conversation for those of you who listen to me
An Oblivion Remake modified for modern audiences, 10 out of 10.
so often, is that what's most exciting to me right now about Oblivion Remake, I have to be selfish here, is that it will likely depict what's going on with the Fallout 3 remake or remaster. You see, with Bethesda's FTC leak, we not only saw an Oblivion remaster on that list, but also Fallout 3. And I imagine that these are going to be in the same family and made in the same style. So if I see the Oblivion remake and I go, oh, okay, they're really cooking. So that means whatever's happening there, if it's good, is great for Fallout 3, which is one of my top 3 favorite games of all time. But what it also means is that if it doesn't look good, then yeah, it cascades the wrong way, and I'll be even more upset than I probably already would have been. Still, this one's been floating around the rumor mill for a while. It was like a remake remaster hybrid. It's going to be in Unreal Engine 5. The leaks have really picked up this year in particular. My prediction is around the Nintendo Direct we'll get some sort of official reveal for Oblivion Remake, and the rumor right now, according to Reddit, is that this is going to be dropping in June. Thanks again to Nate the Hate. Still, that's a big one, and usually we barely see Bethesda Game Studios in a calendar year, but we have to park it on them for a little bit here, because while I know many of us are probably not as excited as we once were for it, Starfield is going to be getting...
Almost no one is excited about anything Bethesda at this point. Elder Scrolls 6, fucking throw it out. No one wants it. Fallout, whatever, throw it out. No one wants it, okay? As long as Bethesda is making games, shit.
Getting more DLC. Remember, when I interviewed Todd Howard, I asked him about Starfield and what's going on with...
You know what should be a new business venture for a lot of companies? It should honestly be acquiring IPs and just selling IPs to game studios that they can make shit from. That would be better. Like, honestly, but again, Bethesda making a game sounds horrible.
With the DLC plans there, and there is at least a year too. You know, he talked about in that interview how he really regretted the team walking away from Fallout 4 too early, and that game could have got more post-launch support. This is something I've been saying for years.
Sure, liar boy.
Years that them walking away from Fallout 4 was like the craziest thing to me with how popular it was, that game just deserved way more DLC. So they recognized that this time with Starfield, and they committed to a lot of support. And so after Shattered Space, I think what...
Oh my god. Okay, so Fallout 4 was the first one that people were starting like to go like, wait a minute, is this really Fallout? I liked Fallout 4, sue me if you want. And, you know, that was fun. Fallout 4 had its moments. Sure, the dialogue, meme box, yes, no, smirky, yes, smirky, no, was shit and whatnot. But still, it was a decent game, in my opinion. I had fun. I liked it. Shut up. And, yeah. But the fact that they walked away from that, even though the DLC sold, I think they sold well. I didn't pay attention, but I'm assuming at least Fought Hardware sold well. And the fact that they made so many DLCs means that it sold well. And now they're like, okay, it's time to invest in Starfield. As someone's hitting their head with a brick, because that's I'm assuming those are the people who make Starfield at this point. Oh, god damn. Their director just going on Twitter and calling everyone who doesn't understand his genius of the Starfield story stupid. Holy, okay? Imagine, unironically going on Twitter calling everyone in the world stupid because they don't call you a genius. That is detestable, okay? That is just flat out detestable. No one wanted Starfield, and it was shit. Most people, by the way, including me, we noticed that the Starfield's probably going to be atrocious trash. Just from the 0.5 second gameplay footages that they sprinkled in before it got released. And then I remember, because people were split down 50-50. Some said it's going to be great, you're a coping loser. Some said, oh yeah, this looks bad. And it looked bad. We're really good at predicting these things, aren't we, boys? We somehow see the piles of trash amongst the diamonds. I wish I could pick out the diamonds amongst the piles of trashes, honestly. But, close enough, honestly, in this case.
People were hoping for is like, this is the launch pad, and now we get to see really exciting content being added into Starfield. But right now, when you look at things like the Steam player count and whatnot, Starfield isn't really seeing a ton of play. And of course, Todd did confirm in that interview that the updates will slow down in 2025 for Starfield, which is fair. They're already in the first year of full production for Elder Scrolls 6, and that means that they're not going to have as much attention on Starfield. They'll have like a little splinter squad over there working on it, which means, again, infrequent updates. I can't imagine the expansions that they do for it are going to be super ambitious. So
hey, look at me.
Can't imagine the expansions that they do for it.
Hey, look at me. I'm from Varun Kai. What does Kai mean? I don't know. Someone just said it because it sounds Dragon Ball. Look at me. I have face tattoos like a moron dipshit. But isn't our culture unique? We have tattoos on faces and no one knows why. Oh, is that not unique enough for you? Well, how about this? Our culture allows us to kill each other whenever we want because that's reasonable, and we have no human emotions. And we somehow survive. God damn it. The House Maroon should be a study on how not to make a faction in gaming. Like, Jesus, it's one of the saddest, most pathetic things in all of gaming. None of their anything is explained. None of their unique stuff is explained. None of their lore makes any sense. It is just absolutely pathetic.
Are going to be super ambitious. So my expectations are fully tempered for year 2 with Starfield. They have all the room in the world to really surprise me, but
my expectations are non-existent for the rest of time for Starfield.
I have very low expectations for this one, to tell you the truth. I don't even know when they would squeeze in an announcement for this other than the Xbox Summer Showcase, and even then I feel like Starfield's lost so much steam since its release that I feel that slot in the showcase could be given to something else, and Bethesda can announce it on their own platforms. But there is more Starfield coming this year. And to talk more about BGS, we do have to talk about Elder Scrolls Online, in particular, the developers of that.
Well, the good part is, whatever they announce for Starfield, I'm milking the shit out of it, boys.
That game in ZeniMax Online Studios. They are a fantastic team. They've expanded greatly, and they've been working on this Project Kestrel for a very long time. This is the game that's to follow up Elder Scrolls Online. And like many an MMO that gets long-term dedicated support to it and builds up a player base like ESO, it'll still continue to get that support, but I imagine a lot of the resources are eventually going to be dedicated to this new MMO for ZeniMax Online Studios. Now, the trick...
Bro, Elder Scrolls Online is already on live support. The last time I heard that they did something... expansion-wise or gameplay-wise, the geniuses over at Bethesda or whoever the fuck is making that garbage, looked at World of Warcraft and say, you know what, we're gonna take something from you, okay? Don't be mad. And then they were like, what can we take? Oh yeah, let's look at the worst selling expansion ever that almost killed World of Warcraft, Shadowlands. And let's take something from that. What can we take? What can we take? Oh, I know. Let's take the most hated part of Shadowlands, Torghast, and add it to our game. Jesus. Wow. I mean, I'm completely fine with people stealing, honestly, from game to game if they do something. But you literally somehow stole the worst part of Shadowlands and added it to your shit. Holy.
With this is that I've always said, and this has never been confirmed before to my understanding, but I've always said that ZeniMax Online Studios made Elder Scrolls Online because Todd Howard knew that it was going to be a while before we got an Elder Scrolls 6 because they were going to go on to make Fallout, and they knew after Fallout they had to make Starfield because as they famously...
I'm sorry, but that sentence is just next level, okay? So, Todd Howard made Elder Scrolls Online because he knew that there's going to be time, there's going to be a lot of time before Elder Scrolls 6 starts. Well, maybe you shouldn't have wasted all those years making Elder Scrolls Online and just started working on Elder Scrolls 6 instantaneously. That could have probably shortened the time period of, Elder Scrolls 6 coming out.
Famously said, if not then when would they actually make Starfield? So they had to do that and then Elder Scrolls 6, right? And of course, while I mentioned Fallout, it was 2 Fallout games in a row. So I think Elder Scrolls Online was designed to be this holdover. Maybe not for as long as it should have been, but it kind of worked out because Elder Scrolls Online is really popular and I think it's really good. But the game is over a decade old now, still going on strong, still getting a lot of annual support. Kudos to that ZeniMax Online team for continuing to do that. That's what makes the game so appealing, is they are on like a very good schedule over there. However, as the player base eventually wanes, it's time to reignite, put them somewhere else. And I think people, of course, they have been ready, but they really are ready for ES6, right? And the reason I bring all of this up is because you bring out ES6 too early, I think you do hurt something like an Elder Scrolls Online to a degree. But to my point, Phil Spencer said that it's 5+ years away. This goes back to 2023, but at the same time, the FTC schedule planned out Elder Scrolls 6 to be 2 years after Starfield. And Elder Scrolls 6 has been in some form of development for a while now. They have at least been working on the tech for the game for a while now, scanning in character models, getting all that pre-production fun stuff out of the way. You're not going to get Elder Scrolls 6 this year. That's not what I'm working
Bro, whose grandma got lost?
Toward with this video right now. What I'm working toward is I could see a world where you actually do see Elder Scrolls 6 this year. Not in gameplay, but one thing that Todd Howard has done multiple times in pretty much any recent interview I've heard him in is talk about the regret of showing ES6.
Todd Howard talking about the regrets. Oh man, that is a match made in heaven, boys. I ain't gonna lie, that sounds hilarious. Todd Howard and regrets. I bet he regrets being 5'3" also.
Too early, that they shouldn't have done it. And since then, it's become a bit of a headline that the age of Skyrim when Elder Scrolls 6 was first revealed is now the same age as the Elder Scrolls 6 reveal itself. Like, it's been that long. It's a crazy stat, right? And Todd has expressed his shame in that. So I could see with now this being the first full year of production for Elder Scrolls 6, like, hey, here's your setting, here's a key faction, like, here's the tone of the game, or here's who you are in this world. I could see a little bit of like a...
You're gonna be black. That's what you're gonna be in Elder Scrolls 6. There's no way. The leaks were that it's like the hammer thing, whatever it's called. I don't know. But it's the black faction. Congratulations. Well, at least they found a way to cram in that sweet, sweet woke diversity in a technically lore-friendly way, which actually kind of seems fine to me, if I'm being completely honest, because it's well, it is a diversity for the sake of wokeness, but at the same time, it is like what that part of the game should kind of be like. So, and they're probably gonna muck it up in the dialogues, and it's gonna be atrocious.
Concept trailer, sort of what they did for Starfield, right? Like, let's paint out these corners of this world and kind of build it up a little bit more, because Starfield was very different. I don't know if you get another Fallout 4 again from Bethesda Game Studios, especially at this point in the game with Elder.
I'm sorry, what part of Starfield is... Well, what part of Starfield's lore makes sense, even? All of it is dumb.
Scroll 6. Because, again, I would be leaning in that Fallout 4 direction, but there is a level of shame, if you will, in just how early things were revealed and how much of a mistake they think it is. So, on one front, the argument could be Bethesda shows nothing this year because they're like, we already made that mistake. But the other thing could be like, okay, the headlines are starting to build up in a negative way around this game before we've even shown anything off. After Starfield, like, we kind of just need to, like...
Considering how much Xbox is struggling currently with, well, literally kind of everything, and their absolute gambles with Call of Duty and all of those things, and becoming more like a subscription-based Netflix service than actual, like, game developer, the Bethesda is gonna have to announce something. There is no way. There is no way that Xbox just allows them to not announce anything. It needs to happen. Whatever it is, there's going to be an announcement.
Remind people we exist and, like, this is a thing happening.
And I'm not talking about the Fallout TV show Season 2. That's happening, yes. But there must also be some kind of other teaser at the bare minimum. Microsoft is not going to allow Bethesda to just, be nothing when Xbox in general is in dire strains.
Happening, and yes, we hear you, we see you, and here's where the game's going to be set, and pretty much confirming what we probably already know, which is that it's in Hammerfell. I think that wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, and I wouldn't be too surprised if we did see that this year. I don't feel like, oh, it's 100% confirmed it's going to happen, but I could see it like 50-50. Like, if it doesn't happen, wouldn't hate it, but if it does happen, I'd be like, this makes sense. I say all of this, I apologize for taking so long to get to the point. Thank you for bearing with me, because I think Project Kestrel finally gets revealed this year. Indeed, this is the blind squirrel finding a nut, if you will. I've guessed about this game for years and years and years, but it feels like after like 8 years of development, like, this is a pretty good time to reveal what you're doing next, right? And, again, you had the first full year of Elder Scrolls 6 production going, where it could be time to sunset the full focus of ESO, especially now that some of the closed down Bethesda studios had staff rolled into ZeniMax Online Studios, so they have additional support, maybe even for ESO, to keep that afloat, continue making content for it, at the same time as focusing on this brand new MMO that I'm very, very curious about, because apparently it's a brand new IP, but I think we finally get that announcement this year. And of course, we're not really looking ahead at Bethesda in any year if we don't talk a bit about Fallout. Fallout is going to be in the conversation a lot this year. Of course, we're going to be talking about 76 because we're getting the playable ghouls this year. But also, it's going to be interesting to watch how 76 functions this year, because I gave them a little bit of a pass last year because I could see with how things were set up for 76 and how it unexpectedly blew up after the Fallout TV show that Bethesda was like, okay, wait. They're back. We got something here.
You know how bad 76 is? It blew up the worst amongst the games. Now, obviously, it still did better than, 3 in New Vegas. But those are games that are very, very heavily showing their age at this point. And they're still good games, but this is an unpopular opinion amongst many of you watching. But it is true that people just don't want to play a game that's 15 years old at this point, or 20 years old, or whatever. If nothing has been done to it, if nothing new has been added, if it's not World of Warcraft, essentially, people just don't want to play these games because they're old. It doesn't matter if they know they're good. It doesn't matter if they have heard they're good. It's just an old game, and that kind of takes some fun out of it.
Like, let's invest more resources in this. I could see a world where they're planning more for 2025 rather than like, how do we capitalize on this Fallout hype right now in 2024? So they have this built-in player base. The redemption arc is here. The attention is there. People are willing to give it a shot. What do they do this year? I expect to see good things from Fallout 76 here in 2025, but it all starts off with playable ghouls, which will change out how NPCs interact with you, that they started last year to sort of set that precedent. I think you bring that Fallout Season 2 trailer over there. But the other question is, in the terms of a game, I think the next thing you do see in this license is Fallout 3 Remastered.
Yeah, I mean, not a lot is going to happen for Fallout. 76 is a dud. Again, no one cares. The bump that it had instantaneously went away because it's shit, obviously. And, well, that's pretty much honestly it. Well, that was Mr. Matty Plays. 10 out of 10. Bye.